Welcome to the Rustic Garden Homestead. This video is all about growing peppers. Going to go over a bunch of tips how to be successful at growing peppers. I'm in Maryland Zone 7. They grow really well here. Limited disease, you do have to spray, but I want to go through my garden, show you all the different peppers that are growing. These are jalapenos. They're growing in a raised bed. We've got bell peppers over here. They're absolutely beautiful. I'll talk about fertilizing, setting up the beds, dealing with peppers that maybe aren't growing that well to start. But what do you do to really get peppers that look this good? Nice and green, lots of jalapenos in there. It doesn't take a lot of work to grow peppers, and there's nothing really fancy about how to grow them. Let's get started with looking at some of the peppers in my garden that are struggling. These are my shishito peppers. There are 8 of them. You can plant peppers a lot more closely together than you might think. That's about 12 inches, 30 centimeters between plants, a little bit wider in the rows. I'll go over spacing throughout this video. The peppers here were struggling. I did a whole video on it. I will link the video. If you want to see what they look like when they were struggling and what I did, watch the video. It'll give you more, information about how to take care of them. But in short, these peppers got into the ground late. They were root bound, they were yellow, they were small. They were only about maybe this tall, had lots of flowers, peppers on there. You have to remove all the peppers with struggling plants. We're going to go over to some plants that are struggling currently. Remove the peppers, remove the flowers, basically hit them with a water-soluble fertilizer. Anyone works. You want more nitrogen if you can find one that has more nitrogen, but anyone's going to work. About every 7 days for 2 or 3 weeks, these got hit with the water-soluble fertilizer. Brought them to life, nice and green. The peppers back there are a little bit taller. They're in the shade. That helped a little bit. These plants should be taller, but they got in late. But, taking a look at them, they're beautiful, nice and green, lots of production, more flowers coming. Bottom line, water-soluble fertilizer. Struggling peppers, hit them with the water-soluble. Let's take a look at some other peppers that are struggling. These just went into the ground. They came out of here, small containers, again, root bound. Were growing too long in my greenhouse. I didn't want to get rid of them, so I decided to plant them up. Just did a video on this space, planting a summer garden. I will put that link in the video description. So the peppers you just saw in those little containers went into here. Much more green. They were hit with the water-soluble fertilizer. Spacing, maybe, 10 inches to 12 inches between them. There are 25 peppers in here. You can plant them much more closely than you think. That will get you a larger harvest. What is that? About 2.5 centimeters per inch, 25 centimeter spacing there. The idea is you can plant them much more closely together. They are greening up nicely. I removed all the flowers. I will keep an eye on them. If they start flowering again, I'm going to remove them. What I'm looking for is a lot of growth like this, where my finger is, up top. Nice and green. Hit with the water-soluble fertilizer. We're going on the 7th day, come I think Thursday. I'll hit them again with the water-soluble fertilizer. Another 7 days, one more time. I'll show you how to fertilize them too, the amount that I'm putting on, towards the end of the video. Your peppers do need supports. They are somewhat fragile, so they will flop over. The weight of the fruit will knock them down. This is a container pepper, banana pepper, good size, and it's fallen over. When you go to harvest, these can break. The stems can break really easily. So you do want to stake them. That's just a basic tomato cage supporting this one. When I went and harvested some off the top, I just snapped off this whole stem accidentally. So be careful with them. But you definitely want to stake your peppers up. They should look something like this. And I'll show you basically how to do that. Some ongoing growth management. As the peppers get bigger, we just talked about staking, and these are tied up with jute. I'm going to show you where I'm going to tie up some tomatoes, and of course I ran out of jute, so I'm just going to use some string, which is a little bit too thin, but you want, something like this. It's natural. It will naturally decay, nice and thick, doesn't cut into the stem, but it's a great way to tie up your pepper plants and other plants. That's jute, J-U-T-E. As your peppers are growing, again, these are, close together. 12 inches, 30 centimeters, maybe a little bit closer. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 peppers in this space. And they're growing extremely well. At this point, and I'll show you just, I mean, all the different peppers that are forming on here. Very large bell peppers. Bell peppers, just on the side note, don't really like to be topped off. Sometimes they grow a little bit more slowly, so I don't do a lot of pruning for them. Look at all those. They're growing nicely. Enough airflow down there, but at this point, maybe the top 4 inches, 10 centimeters, just remove the leaves. That allows for air circulation. Although enough light is getting in here, sometimes the bottom leaves don't get a lot of light. They turn yellow, insects chew them down. They're just really not needed. Again, 4 inches, 10 centimeters, remove those bottom leaves. I'll go through, remove all these, show you what it looks like. That's the basic kind of tending. Bottom leaves, stake them up, water-soluble feeding. Let me show you the other area over here that they weren't staked. So I just dropped in the bamboo post. You can use whatever you want. And when you get into here, you're gonna see a lot of the leaves are yellow. The peppers here are a little bit smaller. They should be larger, but these plants were a little bit stunted. They're taking off now. And I should have really removed those peppers so that I got more growth, more flowers are coming in, little peppers are forming, but I left them. I wanted to get some early peppers. They're all gonna get harvested. But you want to drop in the stakes. I like to angle them outward. So as I shift these plants, I'll end up opening up the space down there. That will allow more airflow. I'll clean up the leaves and they're just gonna get tied to this post like that. Airflow is important, helps reduce diseases. Again, I tend to get less pepper issues here in Maryland, but if I do, I just hit them with a baking soda spray. That seems to take care of the problems. Let me open these up, stake them up, show you the basic. Staked up, some of the bottom leaves have been pruned out. And in case you're wondering, over here is north, so there's no shadows being cast onto my pepper plants. Southern sun, western sun come from over here, so they get plenty of sun. Just want to show you the space that I opened up in the bottom, and I removed a lot of the bottom leaves, you know, threw them down there. Again, about 4 inches. There are a lot of gnats and insects in there. Some of the peppers were rotted and a little bit soft. When you have them, you know, bunched together like that, not staked up, not spread out, sometimes it's hard to find the peppers. But airflow is just really important. It makes a big difference. So you remember I was saying that the peppers here, I really should have harvested the peppers off of those. They're not getting any bigger. They're kind of small, and the peppers are small and the plants are small, but more flowers are coming in. So what I do want to do is assess each plant, and I'm going to pop off all the peppers on here. They're not going to get any bigger. These are purple bells, purple beauties. You know, great to eat, but they're not going to get bigger. So once they start turning color from green to whatever color they want to be, green peppers will naturally turn red a lot of times. Let me pull out this one more here. These are going to get hit with the mid-season water-soluble fertilizer, but I want them to grow more. Those peppers just aren't going to get any bigger. Removed some of the bottom leaves. The other thing you have to make a decision about is the lower stems. Like this one's producing a pepper. Do I really want this growing somewhere? No. So I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to take that pepper. So I'll be taking these peppers indoors, and I'm just going to look down and do the same thing. Here we have a bit of a jungle, but I have this stem growing out this way. Now it's a bell pepper, and they tend to not like to be pruned heavily. I'm going to keep that stem here because it is going to form peppers. It'll be nice, but I'm going to remove some more of these leaves. And the reason I wanted to show it this way is you do not need to be extra careful. Of course, you don't want to break the stems, but you just get in, remove the leaves. You don't need to use special scissors. You don't need to sterilize the scissors. Here down there is a stem coming, not just leaves. I'm going to remove that. So now this guy is pruned nicely. We'll let it go. It was all hunched over. Now that it's tied up, it will grow straight up, and we'll let it go. That's a nice green pepper. As soon as it gets some color, like this one, I'm going to remove it. So I'll be eating this one. And again, I just wanted to show you what I'm taking out from the bottom. You don't need to watch a lot of videos. You don't need to, be super careful with getting in here and removing those bottom leaves. Here's one reason why you stake. I didn't even see that. Here's a whole branch. Whoop, broke that one off. Of sweet bananas that has to be tied up to there. Just get in, clean them up. All the leaves that are bent in different directions will turn towards the sun. Everything is going to look great. This guy's ready for feeding now. Here's a quick look at what Sunscald looks like on a pepper. And essentially the sun is just beaming directly onto the pepper. This guy growing out of the vertical tower just doesn't have enough leaves to cover the pepper. So you don't want to remove a lot of the upper leaves from the pepper plants, because if the sun bakes right down on the pepper, it's going to scald them, kind of bleach them. You can actually eat this. It's not torn. Just cut it out. But when you see this pattern, that's Sunscald. Mid-season care involves a top dressing, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're just going to dress the top of the soil. You want to go about this far away from the stem. You just don't want to load anything up against it. Any organic granular fertilizer with NP and K where NP and K is represented is going to work. You want to add the big guys in: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and handful of the dry organic, and I just sprinkle it around like that. I want to just show you, nothing fancy, just sprinkling it in between the plants. Now these peppers were planted late. They were struggling, gave them the water soluble as I've been describing. And that guy's a little bit yellow. They're starting to kick in. You see that they're growing nicely, lots of flowers, but they also have peppers on there. You want to remove them all. You don't want to make the mistake of leaving the peppers on like I did with those purple bell. They're small, you can still eat them. Let's get in there, take that one. You want the energy to go into growing. Here in Maryland, I'm going to get the rest of July, all of August, a couple weeks into September or more of nice pepper growth. So don't feel like you need to keep the peppers on there because you want them to get larger. They probably won't get larger. There's a bunch of little ones in there. Even these are going to come off. They're going to inhibit the growth of your plant. So let's just finish this up. Organic granular. Yeah, some got on the leaves. We'll just wash that off. That's just a quick top dressing. Again, nothing fancy. I want to encourage people just to kind of pick the task they need to do. Go ahead and do it. There's no perfect way. Rinse them off with a hose. Get some of the organic granular off of there. If you have compost, you don't need to do the organic granular. It's expensive. If you're on a budget, you can skip it. If you're making your own compost, you would do the same thing, but you put down 1 to 2 inches, 2.5 to 5 centimeters of compost across here. As you water this in, the surface roots are going to get all the nutrients. So either do compost or the organic granular as your top dressing, and then we're going to come in and water these in with the water soluble. Maybe you've already been watering with the water soluble, they don't need it, but mid-season, plants are producing, they're bigger, hit them with the water soluble. For top dressing in the raised bed, that's pretty heavily handed. Just going in there. Organic granular fertilizer is basically dried chicken manure, ground up feathers, dried blood, crushed bone. That's all can just get watered in after you put it in. It'll mix into the soil. It'll feed the plants. You can't really overdo it. But that's quick top dressing. It's going to be a slow and steady feed. It's in a form that's not readily available to your plants. Again, organic granular has a little bit that the plants can use right away, but it has to be broken down with microbes. Compost has both. It's great stuff. Feeds the soil, builds the soil, and then the water soluble is what gives your plants that immediate nutrition. They can use it right away, and that's how you're going to get them to just grow beautifully like this. The organic granular is in, and one of the things about my channel is it's a teaching channel. You don't need to be perfect with any of these techniques. Just get in there. It took 30 seconds. Throw in your organic granular, throw in your compost. The plants don't care. We are busy with jobs and family, kids. What happens is we get overwhelmed, we don't get to something, we think we have to be perfect, and then the plants don't get fed. You just have to scatter it in there. Just want to show you how well these principles are working. And how you saw me, take care of these plants in this video is how I really do it. So, just beautiful amounts of peppers. Lots of bell peppers. I'll be doing a separate video on that along with jalapenos if time permits. But just look at all the peppers in there. You don't have to be fancy and perfect with taking care of your garden. So like I said, here are the 4 inches, just a quick recap removed. Have to remove them out of the jalapenos. I'll take these stems out and I just get in and rip them away. There we go, that was it. Good to go. A lot of people will tell you to stop the nitrogen, just go to potassium and phosphorus for peppers. You're going to get more flowers, you're going to get more fruit. Maybe that's true, but the percentage of extra fruit and flowers, in my opinion, is really insignificant. I mean, these are just loaded with shishitos. They're getting nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium in a water-soluble form. They're nice and green, they're growing well, plenty of flowers coming. Changing over and regulating, managing your fertilizers is just an extra step. Yes, it does work, especially with hydroponics, but in soil where you have your beds amended in different ways, different amounts of compost, organic granular, different water solubles, the plants pull in what they need from the soil. Compost is well below a 111 NP and K, and some of my best plants just grow in the compost pile. You don't have to micromanage the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for your plants. The water soluble works. The key to really having healthy, thriving peppers is watering more often than you think. So let's do the water soluble and then we'll talk about watering. Next is the water soluble feeding. Water soluble fertilizer is really important because, as I've been saying, it gives the plants nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that's readily available to the plant, meaning you can use it right away. In your earth beds, there's no need to fertilize your plants every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or every 4 weeks with the water-soluble fertilizer. It's going to vary based on how you set up your beds. Generally speaking, my pepper plants go into the earth. The beds have been fixed up with compost, probably in the fall, maybe again in the spring, some organic granular in the planting hole. I mix it up, put the plants in, water them in well with the water-soluble fertilizer. Then I leave them alone. If the plants are struggling, they do get more water soluble, like in the video that I linked in the video description. But if they're growing okay, I let them be. Come mid-season, right now, I hit them again with the water soluble fertilizer. If for any reason during that period from planting to mid-season, if they look like they need a little bit of something, yes, I'll hit them with the water soluble. You don't need to do this, is my point, every 2 weeks. There's plenty of nutrients in the soil if you've been taking care of your beds in generally a good way. So for the water soluble, you have 2 types. You have organic. I recommend AgroThrive. I'm affiliated with them. Check out the video description. A wonderful organic water soluble fertilizer. But you can use the people made or what we call chemical types. Everything is a chemical, by the way. Chemical types are just really high in nitrogen. Use them at half strength. They're usually at 24,816 NP and K. Too high. Just follow the instructions at half strength. You can use them. Container peppers are different. I'll be doing a video on that. They have to be fed differently, but there is a lot of nutrients in your soil. For the water soluble feeding, just set up your watering can with whatever the instructions say on the water soluble. Real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each plant gets about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then around the plants, I just give them a quick pour like that. That's going to give them plenty of water-soluble fertilizer to continue growing. Again, these plants are beautiful. So for mid-season, they've been fixed up for the most part, staked up, bottom 4 inches pruned, 10 centimeters, organic granular or compost thrown down, watered in with the water soluble. Plenty of nutrients and care for these plants to continue to go. Watering, that's the next step. Let's talk about that. This is my sunken container pepper garden, and this is just a way to manage resources better. They all go into the pot. It's real easy to water. I just flood the top of the pot. They get the water that they need. Poblanos, and I just want to show you, it's 2 pepper plants in there. And you can plant 2 pepper plants in one space. Again, you can plant them 10, 12 inches apart, 25, 30 centimeters apart. They grow really well. You can extend, or you can expand, I guess, the number of peppers that you are harvesting by planting more closely together. And these are all 2 peppers in a planting area, and they're doing really, really well. I find the key to successful peppers is really increasing the amount of water you give them. And that's generally true for the entire garden. People tend to underwater their plants, and I think we have this fear that we can overwater. And it's possible, but it's really hard to do in containers that have holes, which most of them do, so they drain well, and really hard in the earth beds. I water my peppers probably 3 times a week when it's, I don't know, 90 plus degrees, 32 plus Celsius, just hot. You probably have to water these plants every other day. You also want to keep the soil cool. If you want more production, you have to keep the plants cooler. By putting down the mulch, which I have in most of my beds, sun beats down, you have the mulch, you have regular waterings, the roots stay cooler. Really hot roots send a signal to the plant to sometimes drop flowers, stop producing. Bottom line is, they're not going to grow peppers like you want them to because the soil is too hot. They get the message to go into survival mode. I also put shade cloth down over my tomato plants. I don't really do it for peppers. Found here in Maryland Zone 7 that mulch and regular watering at least 3 times a week. And let me just give you a quick real time. So generally speaking, I want the mulch to be soaked down. I want that top 4 inches to be moist, 10 centimeters. That's where there's a lot of surface roots and they're pulling in the nitrogen. I also like watering it after I put down the compost or the organic granular, just kind of wash it into, the top of the soil. So a quick watering would look something like that. I know I got the top 4 inches. I know, kind of boring, but I just want to show you how much water they're actually getting. And that's a good deep watering for these pepper plants. 2 times a week when it's cooler, getting some rain, 3 times a week when it's hot and you're not getting any rain. You can also go to a 4th time. The 4th time might just be in the morning. Let's do the back here. And it's going to be 100 degrees, 36 Celsius or something like that. And you just want to soak down in the morning the mulch. That's going to keep them cooler, give them some water, but that will keep them producing. How often do I water is the question I probably get most often. And you really just have to, I think, water 3 times a week. So again, if you want to see it one more time, in this group, there's a plant right there. A little bit faster count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's about the count that I use for one plant. If I'm doing like a group of 4, I might do that slower. 1, 2, 3. But you just want to make sure, you're giving them 1 or 2 good soakings a week to get down to depth. And that's per plant, something like this. A solid 10 seconds. A lot of stuff you'll read will be 1 to 2 inches of water. That's really hard to figure out, and it looks something like this. So each plant, is getting a lot of water. And then you just want to be sure you water in between the plants. They're mulched up. This will keep them growing really nicely. They'll stay obviously hydrated, but more importantly, I want to stress again, the roots are going to stay cool. The plants are going to produce more. Your plants are going to be happier. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. I sell tomato and pepper seeds, $1.75 a pack. All other seeds are $1.50 a pack. The only thing I didn't really focus on was fungal issues. If your plants break out in a fungus, it really doesn't matter what spray you use. It really matters that you're consistent. So pick a spray for your antifungal, and you can see there's nothing on these leaves. They look really healthy. And then you just want to spray regularly till the fungus is under control. There's so many different products you can use, organic, not organic, whatever you want to use. You just have to have a regular routine. Again, please check out my seed shop and please subscribe. I'll teach you how to grow food, have some fun, how to save money. The peppers look great, and this is pretty much how I take care of mine.